No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Blue Banana Podcast. My name is Sophie and with me I have Liam and Manu.
Hi.
How are you guys doing today? It feels like we haven't spoken in so long.
And yet I simultaneously feel a bit exhausted, as if we've done this before.
Kind of a weird deja vu almost.
So for a bit of context, this is round 2 because let's say we had some technical difficulties, shall we?
I might or might not have not been recording my audio for the first 30 minutes of the podcast.
I don't think we were going to sell you out like that, but thank you for admitting to it.
Great ownership, great responsibility. And we're going to take ownership for our actions because we said that we were going to be talking about Naruto last week.
And then we didn't.
And then we didn't, and we talked about One Piece instead,
Which we did.
which probably would actually not be the way that you guys watch it because I'm pretty sure we're going to release the One Piece episode first. We've broken the time continuum on a number of levels here, but we are going to talk about Naruto today. That's why Manu's dressed up like Naruto's mum.
Yes.
Haha, fresh joke.
You think that by the time we've repeated this joke, I would remember what Naruto's mum's name is? I want to say it starts with a K.
Kushina?
Yes, it is, because it's quite similar to his to the fox's name.
Kuruma? Which by the way means car in Japanese, which I was always kind of confused about.
Kuruma does. I'm not sure if it is. Probably spelled with all sorts of fancy kanji that have fox and spirit. No, it's Kurama? Kurama?
Oh, is it Kurama?
Kurama? Really?
Yeah, like Yu Hakusho.
It is Kurama. I was like,
Kurama.
It's like, why would he call it car? It's technically Naruto's car. I love how Naruto's parents died and Kishimoto was just like, let's make them total babes, both of them. Like, since they're dead, let's make them like ultra handsome.
This is actually a controversial opinion. Gonna get straight into it. I didn't actually see the huge hype about the 4th Hokage.
Me neither. Hate it.
You hate it? Okay, that's a very strong word.
Sorry, hated is a very strong term. Sorry, we've discussed Naruto things, some very actual things I hate. I did not hate this, but I've still got that feeling of hate surging like adrenaline throughout my body. Sorry. So who cares?
It's pretty hot.
Is that the only basis that we're judging characters now?
So yeah, it's smash up ass Naruto.
Yeah.
I honestly find all of the other Hokage, past and future, much more interesting.
I think he's pretty cool. He's fast. He's nice. He made sure his kid was raised properly and nicely. He's like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself for this village and burden my kid with the monster just so all of you can live. And everyone's like, jokes on you. Let the kid live by himself, I guess.
Yeah, we're not gonna take care of him at all.
I think part of why I don't enjoy it is because it plays into the chosen one trope that we've already discussed. Finding out that Naruto's father was the Hokage was just a bit like, but I liked it better when he was just the no-name boy.
The underdog?
He was no longer the underdog anymore. Naruto was old money at that point. He was destined to become Hokage.
My father was a great man. Your father died in the mud in front of the ramen store. I didn't hate that. I feel like it kind of, like the Hokage thing, it kind of gave Naruto a little bit. For his character, it was good because it did give him like kind of this feeling of like belonging a little bit. And his entire life, he thought his parents just abandoned him. And, you know, I don't remember, how was it? He did not know who his father was. Is that correct? Do I remember correctly?
No.
Yeah, for ages.
Everyone was like, you live by yourself. You're 5. You're old enough to do
Because
that.
they were scared about Kurama. Yeah, it makes zero sense, right? Like, his dad sacrificed
I
himself.
was like, oh, you have this immensely, like, weapon of mass destruction sentient being inside of you. Let's just neglect you and let you live in an apartment by yourself.
It is a sad excuse, but I've just looked it up, and the first result on Quora is they want to protect Naruto from his father's enemies. Telling Naruto about his parents wouldn't have been a good idea since he would have blurted it out about how proud he is of his parents, and that would lead to danger. Which I will say they knew before he actually developed into his blurt out phase, before he was a fully grown. Best to just abandon the child and, I don't know, give him a ramen friend.
I don't think that's the real response. I don't remember that ever being part of the story.
No, I think that's probably some fan made.
It was stated by the 3rd Hokage, allegedly.
The 3rd Hokage Hokage, he was cleaning up after himself. He was
Dude,
like,
that was like the most trash boy ever. It was literally like the first guy was like this almost godlike dude, right, with the wood powers. The second one was pretty neat too. The fourth one also pretty cool. The third one was just like, I'm a monkey.
and I know that that's a meme, but I actually really liked the third Hokage.
Me too. He was cool.
I find it less surprising, Liam, that you say that though, because I feel like it fits all of your criteria: old man and weird. I feel like that's like two things.
Wacky old man.
Two things you need. Yeah.
And it's two things that you don't get in Naruto a lot because everyone's like young, sleek, and cool. That's what all of the Naruto characters are.
Hero Sensei.
Mention another one.
What oh my god, what's his name? The guy who dies by pain, Naruto Sensei, who's a pervert.
Oh, Jiraiya.
Jiraiya,
Yeah.
thank you.
But
true.
Jiraiya's not quite as wacky. I feel like he still quite looked cool. Like personality-wise, he's wacky, but in terms of design, I thought he had a pretty cool design.
Yeah, whereas the third Hokage is just like, what are you? You are an embarrassment to ninja aesthetics. What are you doing dressed in that? Get out of that.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm gonna take back over. Where's the kid? Just give him some free ramen. He'll be fine.
In which case, I know we all like to hate on Sasuke a lot, unless you're a Sasuke
And I will continue to do so.
sympathist. In which case, we can actually blame the third Hokage and the rest of the villagers for Naruto's Sasuke's my boyfriend syndrome, because he felt like he could relate to Sasuke's loneliness.
Oh my god, imagine this blissful world where Naruto couldn't relate to Sasuke. They just would have let him go. It would have been great.
Okay, so we had a longer discussion earlier on the entire Naruto chasing Sasuke thing being like fun for 2, maybe 3 arcs.
One arc. Pre-Shippuden, the end of part 1 of Naruto. Everything after that,
Again, we don't want to compare stories, but the problem with the Sasuke thing is there's no redeemable qualities even at the fucking end of the story. There is like literally, he's like, yeah, I did it because I could. What are you gonna do about it? And that's like,
I'm gonna be Hokage because that was your dream and now I want it for reasons.
biggest fuck you. He's like, I don't want to kill you anymore. Instead, I'm gonna take your dream.
Instead, I just want to break your dreams. Yeah. Thanks, Sasuke. Who would have let him become Hokage anyway? Let's say he does beat Naruto in that final fight. Is the whole village gonna go, yeah, you're not a dick anymore? No, they're gonna go, fuck off. We're gonna elect another Hokage. Do you know how many actually qualified ninja we have for that position just lined up? Who aren't gonna continuously betray the village?
Not that many, actually.
You got Kakashi and then eventually maybe Shikamaru.
But Kakashi was going to be the next Hokage anyways, so it's like, who's going to follow Kakashi? Naruto and then the rest, like what, Sakura?
Sakura,
Jesus.
Shikamaru.
I think so. Shikamaru was actually my favorite character.
Shikamaru?
See, Shikamaru is Sasuke done correctly. This kind of emo, reserved,
What?
sleek design.
They are completely different.
Yes, and that's why Shikamaru's better.
I take offense that that is the comparison you make.
When you look at like Enies Lobby or, Sanji, there's reasons and there's reckoning, like the character leaves, they're being chased after, they're being a dick about it, but there's a reason for it, and there's character development and then a reckoning with that decision. Having not faith in Luffy, and then it's kind of learning that they should put faith in Luffy's because he's the one who actually cares about them. But with Sasuke, he has reasoning. He's like, well, my family got killed, fuck this village, which reasonable. And I get it, but at some point, after they chase after him and and they're like, please come on, like, there's just nothing. He's like, no, I'm still gonna be sulky about this.
Here's the thing. Sasuke, if I think about it, sure, I can empathize with you somewhat. Pretty horrible shit that happened to your clan.
Just a tad.
Fuck off. Do you? Yeah, okay. I'm clearly underestimating a little bit.
Genocidal.
Go off on your emo journey, but my annoyance comes when the entirety of ninja society starts revolving specifically around Sasuke. In our immediate vicinity, we have Sakura, whose entire character trait is, I love Sasuke. And one time I told Naruto I loved him, but because I love Sasuke. And so that makes her annoying. Kakashi has a relation to Sasuke because they share the eyes. All of the main villains are all Sasuke all the time. Orochimaru's like, oh mate, I need me some Sasuke. Itachi, Sasuke's brother, Madara, and Uchiha. Like everything is so Sasuke-centric. And then it doesn't help that Naruto all the time is just saying, We gotta go save Sasuke, guys.
Datebayo.
Like, he is the sun that all of the planets revolve around.
The right moment in the story for me that created some sort of character development for Sasuke, but didn't quite take it the right direction for me, was when he has that reckoning with his brother, and he kind of learns the truth about that. That for me would have been the moment. He can still be twisted, and he can still be like a morally kind of like questionable character, but at least have this chase, this kind of like Naruto chasing his girlfriend like story arc end, please. It's like the way I felt. That would have been a good moment. It's really weird. He goes from there, he's like, oh, my brother really cared about the family, and it was to protect the village, and what he takes away from there is like, now I'm gonna kill them all anyways. And Naruto's like, no, he's good at heart. And Sakura is like, I'm still so in love with him because from 3 years ago when I was 10.
How many times did he try to kill Sakura?
Like, the fact that Sakura is not head over heels into fucking Naruto at the end of the story is like, I'm very happy he ended up with Hinata, because I think me and like 90% of Naruto fandom were probably secretly convinced it was going to be Sakura at the end.
There would have been rebellion. There would have been a revolution in Japan.
What I was fearing was that he was going to neatly tie up all of these relationships, which is exactly what happened, despite the fact that it wasn't really that important throughout the series. Like, why do we all need these marriages? Like, and then obviously the worst one is between Sasuke and Sakura. Like, why did they need to get married? I was worried that it was gonna happen.
They end up together, apart.
What exactly is the lesson?
Yeah, what is the message here? Like, be a dick to the girl you like for years on end, and eventually things will work out. And when you get her pregnant, you can just go away somewhere and not have to worry about it.
The only thing is you need to be pretty attractive to pull it off, I guess.
You do. And you probably need a tragic backstory as well. I don't think people will buy into it as much if you don't.
Now that I think about it, maybe Sasuke's redeeming quality was that he got earrings at some point.
Do you guys remember when Sasuke killed Orochimaru in bed? An underwhelming defeat of Orochimaru that was. At that point, like the biggest villain in the series, and he just like gets killed while he's in bed.
I actually don't even remember that.
He was not actually dead, was he?
He comes back. Orochimaru always comes back because he's like implanted in various people. That's, I think, when I realized that I don't think Naruto has many good villains. Like, just full stop. I think my favorite one would be Pain, followed by
Yes.
Itachi, who I do not consider a villain.
No.
And everyone else is just kind of...
Is it because you feel like his character was ruined by the end? You don't consider Madara a good villain?
I thought Obito was a pretty good villain.
Yeah, Obito was also a good
It
villain.
was
I
just
thought
the
so.
way it kind of resolved at the end. Because the thing with Obito was like, same with Madara, other we're going to get into Kaguya again, I'm sure, as we talked about earlier, but Obito was set up really nicely. I really liked that deception with Toby, where he was that like quirky character, no one knew why he was actually there, and even within the Akatsuki, nobody knew why he was actually there.
Who's this weirdo hanging around the Akatsuki?
And then we kind of have this entire story of Kakashi and how he's like traumatized by losing his friend and Naruto's father and so on and so forth. I thought that was really cool.
I think that Obito, I never really know what to call him. I don't care. Tobito. I think Tobito and Madara are both kind of poisoned by what they ultimately led to, but also some of the stuff that happened before it. Let me ask you this. I'll use the Manu line. Who is the leader of Akatsuki?
Isn't it Toby?
Yeah, by the end of it was.
Was it?
Or was it the Black Zenitsu?
Zenitsu. But that is the thing, like, you think about it, it's like Pain, right? Pain is meant to be the leader. He's what we're building towards. But then it's like, psych, the secret leader was Toby all along, and he has a plan to resurrect Madara, who then becomes the leader then, is the leader behind the shadows. But then, behind the shadows of the shadows is Zetsu, who was like manipulating things all along. And behind Zetsu is Kaguya, who was the big thing.
I would have framed it as in not only who's the leader of the Akatsuki, I would have said it more. It's like the pattern with Naruto is like you have one villain and you're like, oh, he's the ultimate baddie. And then it's like, psyched, he was stupid. There was someone pulling the strings all along. Only that psyched, he was stupid. Someone else was
But the second part of Naruto does that throughout the entire series. How many times can you Aizen before it gets old?
It's literally like, haha, you were a fool. I was the one giving orders all along.
And so it makes you feel like all of that effort you spent with the villain was just like, you were just fighting a puppet. And it keeps doing that. And it like undermines the credibility of all of the previous villains because they themselves were being manipulated in this long string of everything that culminates in Kaguya.
The best villain ever.
The thing that I kind of liked about Kaguya, going back to your third Hokage thing, is the Sage of the Six Paths. Because I feel like he gets mentioned before as this kind of like godly figure before we even see what he looks like or anything. It's like when they go to that shrine thing. But he just appears and he's kind of this grandpa who's kind of like just annoyed having to like clean up shit after he's already dead. And he's like, oh my god, my children really fucked up. It's like, alright, you get this power and you get that power. Good luck. He's like, can't be bothered.
Let the never-ending conflict begin.
What do you guys think in general of that trope, which is the Luffy's, Naruto's, and Ichigo's, I guess, which are the main characters? All three of them have moments of change, but overall they barely, which is the classic shonen hero, right? Like barely change throughout the story personality-wise, only strength-wise. I think in One Piece it kind of works. It's a reason why shonen is popular, because you have this consistency, strong idealist centerpiece that's almost unrealistic in the real world, but something to strive towards. But at the same time, I know people who start One Piece, especially in the early arcs, are very annoyed with Luffy being this like unchanging, kind of dumb but strong dude. And the change, obviously there's moments of change, but with Naruto is himself, he has his great moments where he really shines, but I feel like often in Naruto, the cast around him almost carries the show, like characters like Kakashi or like some villains or other people in the story who are really, because he himself again has these beliefs that barely ever get shaken, and he's always like, we need to get Sasuke back, deep down he's a good guy, and I need to, become Hokage because I don't know, I want to. Like, again, obviously he has motivation for it, but there's very little, like, there's no moment, for example, where he ever actually questions, does it make sense to keep chasing Sasuke? And then he never has those moments where he actually is like, I question that, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I still want it. Or does it make sense to become Hokage,
The reason why I think it works with Luffy is because, and I can't believe I'm saying this, he has a very logical train of thought. He doesn't acquiesce to anything, and he is so relentless because he knows that to get to point B, I've got to start from point A, and I've just got to go there. I don't think he needs to question it as much. With Naruto, his goals are more questionable because it is just, gotta save Sasuke. Could I be doing anything else with my time?
No, actually, when you put it like that, I think Naruto is a lot more understandable. So I know how much we shat on both of them, but when you actually take their backstory into account, the fact that Sasuke is the way he is because he's experienced this trauma from a very young age, and so obviously he's going to be fucked up. Whereas for Naruto, not quite on the same scale, but he's also, gone through neglect and abuse. So for him, it's like, I made this connection with a friend who I believe is the only person who can relate to me, the feeling of being alone. Therefore, my dream of becoming Hokage, which is the fact that I want to be popular and I want people to like me, is a real dream that I can understand someone wanting to have and not letting go of. And so then with his obsession with Sasuke is also, I can't let someone, stay in that same fate that I endured, and I need to bring him back. And then the fact is that you also witness Naruto go through a lot more struggle than I think Luffy does, because Luffy starts off pretty strong from the beginning, whereas Naruto is pretty, like, he was the worst out of their team. He had real struggle with Kurama. It was a real cool moment when they did their fist bump and they were like, all right, we're gonna...
I think the problem is kind of the content of the dream. While for Luffy, it's extremely abstract, where it's like freedom and wanting to be the freest and doing what he wants, which is, I feel, generally an ideal that many people strive towards, that gets expressed by it's like, oh, I want to be able to do my own sketch. Like, it's dreams people have end up being, I want to be free to decide what I do and free to do what I want to. Well, as you said, the dream to become Hokage, it's not because he wants to change the world for the better, or like necessarily like, oh, I want to be politically active and shape the politics of the village and make sure everyone gets better hygiene and education. No, it's, as you say, he wants to be popular. That's his entire thing. He gets, after he defeats Pain, he gets popular. People accept him. He has made friends. He has people standing and fighting behind him. So why does he keep that dream?
I guess I'll insert myself into the middle because I actually quite like how Sophie put it. A very eloquent defense of Naruto. What I would say is I hate how much of it is so intrinsically linked to Sasuke. I think do the Sasuke thing for an arc, make an amazing thing of it, and then explore something else. But as it is, like, Sasuke is the dream, I guess, for the entire series. We get Sasuke back literally next chapter, he's Hokage.
And a lot of the negative experiences Luffy has throughout the story are also all negatively tied to Sasuke. Like, he's often responsible for it. And I feel like that at no point, if Naruto had that realization where he's like, dude, this guy is fucked up, but he never has that moment of reckoning, I feel, that I would want to have, where he's like, you know what, I might be wrong, he might just be a real asshole, but I want to like make sure that he comes off that dark path. But I feel like he just constantly clings to like, oh no, he's actually a good guy, like we can bring him back. And he never really questions that.
I think, to be fair, Luffy would do the same if he was in that position.
I think so too, and I think it's just that Naruto's not smart enough to put it like that. I think he's just not smart enough. But I also think that we're watching very different shows in the sense that I think Naruto, despite the fact that he is the titular character, I think that show was always Naruto and Sasuke. It's not actually just Naruto's story.
I would go so far as to say Sasuke featuring Naruto.
And I will also say to what you said earlier, Liam, I do think that for Luffy, the moment he has on Sabaody and Marineford, I felt like they were extremely important for keeping the story interesting and alive. Where Luffy, again, he doesn't change crazy and fundamentally, but he has character development.
He gets broken down and needs to build back up.
Yeah. I feel like if Luffy kind of just cruises through those arcs as well and doesn't have that major setback that makes him forces him to change a little bit and take things a little bit more seriously, I feel like post time skip would have been very difficult.
Risking this getting into a One Piece conversation, I think the thing is that it's also not just Luffy. The entire crew has that moment of, shit, we need to get our stuff in order. Whereas I don't feel that as much with the cast of Naruto.
And I feel like there's a reason, again, why these moments in Enies Lobby and Marineford are such fan favorites, because it is those moments where Luffy actually has to get serious.
Imagine if Sasuke did the I Want to Live. That would have made Naruto.
It's the same thing with Gon, what makes him such a great shonen protagonist, because it's kind of taking that almost annoying idealism and using it to contrast something else in a person. And for Luffy, it's contrasting him in his serious moments where he actually, takes an opponent seriously, where he actually, pulled out of that state of Buddhahood almost and enlightenment, where he's like this eternal bliss. And for Gon, it's kind of contrasting that youthful, everything's great, there's only good guys and bad guys, and then seeing kind of how that crushes him at the end of the main story arc.
I think Gon is a very different beast. It's very difficult to compare him with your standard shonen character.
Oh, but would you not agree that it's still kind of that contrast that makes it work so really nicely?
Absolutely loved it. But like the more standard model is, for a shonen character, you're an archetype. It's less about how they change and more about how they change the world around them.
Another controversial opinion. Actually, let me say this right. I wouldn't say that I'm not a huge fan of Gaara. I think he was overhyped.
Was he?
Not to me.
I think Gaara was really cool in the first, in the original season, during the Shunin and everything. And then I feel like, he kind of lost his edge in the Shippuden
Really lost
part
his
of the
edge?
story.
Very early on.
Complete change.
He was pretty cool.
He was. He wasn't overrated to me because when I first got into Naruto, I knew nothing about it. Like, very few people around me were into it, if any, so it was going into it completely blind, and I just thought he was cool. I also thought Rock Lee was really cool.
Yeah, I thought Rock Lee was really
He's
cool.
one of the best characters.
Yeah, and very underutilized.
He and Guy.
And Guy Sensei.
Super underutilized.
Open some more gates, mate.
Open a few more gates there.
Open that 8th gate.
Yeah, dude. Gonna open my 8th gate, dude. It's gonna be gaping wide open, man. Gonna be streaming out that gate.
Gape no
Some
jutsu.
Naruto porn there for you. What sort of weird crossover is that? It's a German impersonating Australian Naruto porn.
See, Manu, I told you all of the weird stuff comes from Germany. Having brought that up, really not a fan that Guy survived. I'm gonna put that out there.
I do agree with you. It wasn't a huge factor for me. Retrospectively, given that quite a number of characters did die in Naruto, I am surprised that they made Guy survive.
For a war, very few characters died. In fact, there was a net gain because more characters came to life than died.
It's negative war.
It was like a reverse war.
I would agree. I think Guy's sacrifice would have been more impactful if he had actually died, but at the same same time, I kind of agree with Sophie also because he's such a likable character that it was kind of nice seeing him around at the end.
Yeah, but by that point, we'd reached this area where it was like, people don't really die unless you're Neji.
Neji died, Jiraiya died.
Because during Pain's invasion, people died and then they got brought back to life. Jiraiya died ages ago by this point.
But Liam, think about it this way. Liam, if those characters actually died, then they couldn't all make cameo appearances in Boruto, so you didn't clearly not think that
They
through.
can. You just do it like in a dream or something. I don't care. What does Boruto do? What is it? 300 episodes adapting 60 chapters? There's got to be a lot of room for wacky shit like that.
I mean, and why can't they resurrect people in Boruto? It'll be like, I remember my father told me about this really cool fighter. His powers would come in real handy right now.
Why can't you just resurrect anyone at any time? Because that's what Naruto became at the end. Everyone's back. And you were there, and you were there.
They even did that through, like, after the Pain fight. No, like, I feel like there it worked. I mean, he basically did kill the entire village there, almost.
Yeah. It was a boss maneuver.
And he sacrificed himself to do it, so...
Yes, which is fair enough, I think. Who died so that Guy could live?
Yeah, but then they did it again, which was kind of a bit video gamey. It's like, he died, and I res him again. And another res. And another res.
I'll allow it because I liked Itachi.
All right, it's been adjudicated. Sophie has allowed it.
Yeah, I'll allow it. 'cause I liked
Itachi coming back was admittedly pretty great. I did enjoy that.
I remember actually, Liam, you said something quite controversial the other time I was discussing Naruto with you. I think you actually said that Itachi is overrated.
Yeah, he is.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No. No.
Yeah.
No, single-handedly
Yes.
probably one of the best redemptions I've ever seen.
That's a big L take.
Don't you Ellen dub me. It's a mid-take at worst.
No,
When
no,
you
no.
talk about Naruto, inevitably everyone just starts dropping to their knees and filleting Itachi. He's an amazing character, but I think because we put him on a pedestal that doesn't exist, he is by definition overrated.
No, I think you're just being a hater at this point.
I'm not a hater. I love Itachi.
I like
think
that
it's
So
controversy.
good. He's not the be all and end all, and he doesn't solo every anime verse like you see on Twitter.
No, I'm not
That's
saying
not what
that.
we're talking about.
No,
we're not talking about
no.
power-wise.
Neither am I, but it's part of it. It's an extension of it. It's people love him so much that they're contriving ways for him to not only be the best character in Naruto, but in every other series as well.
But then, okay, how can you say that and then justify that Zorro is your favorite One Piece character?
He cuts things. It's simple.
And he has earrings.
My one doesn't. My one's lost the earrings in transit.
Oh, no.
Are you comparing Itachi to Zoro?
No, I'm comparing the fan base deciding that Zorro is the best character in every anime universe and could solo anyone that he decides
Who
to.
says that?
Oh, okay, so I'll fully admit this. Zoro is overrated, especially on Twitter.
Okay, I've never heard anyone claim that Zorro,
I know what Sophie's
Really?
talking about, yes. These are a special breed of ZKK Zoro fans.
And even if we don't actually go that far, the fanboying for Zorro, I mean, it's on a tier,
pretty
right? I mean,
extreme.
we talked about this even in a different episode. Even the Toei staff made him like fucking Goku level in the anime.
Yes, they
Yep,
did.
they did.
Which isn't to hate on Zorro. I love Zorro, but I'm just saying, if that's the stance that we take on Itachi,
I agree with you. Zoro's overrated.
I made a video about how far Luffy would have come without Zorro.
I know because I was actually going to make that video and then I saw you did it.
Whoops. Anyways, well, I did it in reverse because obviously, right at the beginning, especially in the early arcs of One Piece, Zorro is such a critical part of the story that Luffy would not even make it past Orange Town, right?
Yeah, he'd get caught.
So I started reverse from Wano, and I did argue quite riskily that you could make a fair point that even if Zorro had not taken out King at that point with Luffy awakening and everything, Wano would not have been lost because Zorro wouldn't have been there. I would argue.
Marco might have taken up the position.
Apart from the plot armor, and because of plot armor, they would have survived. But I think it's very hard to argue that the rest of the supernova on roof would have survived if Zorro didn't
True.
defend that
True.
attack.
They're dead.
To be fair, if it wasn't for the fact that Zorro has plot armor, Zorro also should not have survived that attack.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Zoro blocked the strongest attack we've ever seen in the series from 2 Yonko, which is why he's so amazing. That's what you meant to say, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Anyways, my point was the comments under the video were fun.
I can imagine.
Boruto, am I right?
No, you're wrong. Let's stop that.
I want to reiterate like something that we said in the first round where my mic wasn't recording, where I did praise Boruto for the fact that given that Naruto ended on that very controversial ending, maybe the most controversial ending of an anime ever. Let's see how it what happens when Attack on Titan.
Depends on which part you're talking about being controversial.
The aliens, ne?
Yeah, so the climax, not the actual ending.
Yes, the climax. Given how controversial that was, and given that Boruto kind of starts out as this weird slice of life thing, like, oh, everyone's married and had sex with each other, and they have like little kids that... Did you see the fan theory that all the Naruto characters came together and had a big orgy? Because they're all the same age.
They're all the same
and
age.
all go to the same class.
And they all just paired off depending on whose DNA got mixed with
Yeah. I feel like given that, it's really astonishing how strong Naruto goes as a series still to this day on YouTube and the internet in general, but also how like Boruto itself stands. I don't know the data on it, but I've seen people claim that Boruto is even more successful than Naruto. And again, I'm not claiming that. I've just heard people say that. Yeah, please verify that. But it definitely stands on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, right? You actually have to wonder, are they Naruto fans? Have they just picked up and, garnered a new fan base? Is it a much younger fan base?
I think it's almost aimed a little, at least the part of Boruto I saw, because then I know since then, from what I've seen on Twitter and stuff and YouTube, I think there have been time skips and he's older now and everything, and it's more serious now. And as we said earlier, Kishimoto, like the author of Naruto, has come back to take over the series from his assistant. But at least the early parts definitely felt very much targeted at a younger audience, almost even younger than the original early episodes of Naruto, because those had that dark undertone of Naruto being alone and nobody likes him. But the episodes I saw of Boruto is just like everyone's friends, and like their biggest worry is if they get caught like doing something. I don't know, it's very lighthearted, so I felt like it was almost targeted at a younger audience to kind of re-engage the next generation of like Demon Slayer fans, maybe.
That's the vibe I got as well.
Does anyone know why Kishimoto returned to Boruto?
What I heard is that he was not happy with how the series was handled, but I might be wrong.
I'm just seeing this incidentally on the internet now. Apparently the previous author got fired. I can't confirm that because this is just quick Googling, but yeah.
That is very saucy news indeed. You know why he got fired? He confirmed the fan theory that everyone were just the offspring of a giant hidden leaf village orgy.
No, I think if he drew that, the series would be infinitely more popular. I'm sure it exists out there somewhere.
The Offspring selection arc.
The Offspring exam. You touched on the controversial ending. I know we've all ranted about this a bit, but it was in a part that wasn't released. I'm gonna say it. Kaguya. Discuss.
So this is the feeling that I get with Kaguya because I loved Naruto, and as we said in that recording that will never be released, Manu and I, it's for all of us really, it's a gateway series, right? For you as a manga, for Manu and I, it's our gateway anime.
It was the
And
first
because
anime,
of that,
yeah.
there's a great sense of nostalgic love that I have for the series. And yet, if I were to recommend someone an anime, I don't think I could confidently recommend them Naruto because I know how it ends.
I think I could, because I will make the controversial, maybe it's not controversial, I would make the statement or the claim that I think that Naruto is if you have a friend who's never watched anime and he's curious, I would recommend Naruto fairly easily, while for example One Piece I might not easily recommend as the first anime you ever watch.
I think you're right, because it's a tried and tested method. Naruto is an easier gateway, at the very least for a Western audience, whereas One Piece has a bit of an acquired taste about it. With that said, I agree with Sophie, because I'm like, there's an impressive journey to go through and you get attached to these characters, but knowing that it blue balls you so hard.
Isn't that even better? Because like they're so excited for like a month that they're watching this.
That
You're
trauma.
a fucking weird friend.
And then they're like, oh, I got blue ball, I need to watch something.
You're a bloody sadist.
The best thing that can come out of it is that you have a new friend to rant to about the thing that you also don't like.
And then you're like, next you go watch Bleach.
And after that, I'm going to start you on Sword Art Online.
In Bleach, they had another orgy where like all the special characters of that world came together and were like, we're going to genetically fuck into Ichigo so that he has all the powers.
And also, Ichigo got a haircut. There's that like meme about the short-haired dad because Naruto has much shorter hair at the end, so does Ichigo. And so they do that photoshopped image of Luffy with real short hair.
Okay, so maybe this is actually controversial as well because I haven't actually watched the ending, and it seems like the ending of Attack on Titan is just as controversial or just as hated by a lot of people. But if someone is a new anime fan, the go-to that I would actually recommend is probably Attack on Titan.
Yeah, I think that's kind of depends on the person.
Yeah, I will say so too, because Attack on Titan is so in the gory corner that I feel like if your first impression you have like, oh, anime is this thing where you have cartoon characters being bloodily munched to death.
For a normie audience that is now suckled on the teat of Game of Thrones, I think Attack on Titan is a good launching point into anime. Let me ask Manu, which ending was more disappointing? Attack on Titan or Naruto?
I didn't have a big problem per se with the ending of Attack on Titan.
So Naruto.
I think with Attack on Titan, it's a similar problem as with I think Naruto. Whereas I think with Naruto, clearly Kishimoto at some point, we discussed this again earlier as well. Clearly at some point just was kind of winging things and didn't really have like a bigger plan for this entire series to wrap up in, and was kind of like we can do this.
They are kind of similar in a way. There's a lot of chasing Eren happening in Attack on Titan through the forest sometimes, no less.
But much more sustained.
Yeah, I think with Attack on Titan, the actual problem, the author is really, really good with world building and kind of like plot twists and so on and so forth, but the actual character writing is actually kind of not that good with Attack on Titan, and I think the problem is that people want Eren to be something that he never was, and I think that's the reason why people are really unhappy with the ending.
Whereas Naruto, to me, is kind of the reverse. It is excellent character writing and like what world building? Shrugs.
I mean, the world building is not terrible.
I think it just wasn't. I think retrospectively, you could argue that yes, it's not fantastic. But when you were watching it, I didn't have a big problem with it.
Do you remember when they that briefly introduced that guy who didn't live in one of the Hidden Leaf villages? One of the hidden villages. And it kind of alluded to the idea that ninja society existed to serve a greater society, and we just never went back to that.
Yeah, I remember that. That's true.
Like, I wish we'd gotten more of, like, everyone's a ninja in this world. Like, there are like 5 villages and that's it. There's like nothing else. And most of the landscapes are trees. There's a lot of trees.
Yeah, but they have to, that's how you run fast.
No, Manu. You can run fast without trees. You just need to...
I actually have a dumb story about this. I remember, I don't know why I decided to do this, but it was a rainy day and I was coming out of the gym and my friend and I were talking about Naruto and we were talking about the Naruto run. And so I decided in the rain with my bad luck and terrible feet genes, started Naruto running and stacked it right outside my gym. And if you actually look closely enough, I still have the scar from when I stacked it.
Sophie.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, don't try this at home, kids. I feel like for me, Naruto, I actually was earlier going to praise the world building because per se, I think it's very interesting. You have the Hidden Leaf village, which is kind of its own ecosystem that we learn a lot about, but then we kind of expand that to the other villages and kind of, we even see these like some political things going on. So I didn't mind that so much. I feel like the dialogue is more something like when you think, for example, about One Piece, again, apologies for the comparisons.
Jeez, always comparing it to One Piece. Why don't you just go marry One Piece if you love it so much?
Why don't you just create a channel about One Piece?
Why don't you write your own manga, Manu, if you think it's so much better?
Well, anyways, I think One Piece has moments where it's like just badass power, but I feel like One Piece's strongest moments and the most memorable ones will be dialogue-based ones, where it's nothing happens, I want to live. And so on and so forth. When does a man die? Yeah, or even the one with Nami where Luffy says nothing. The fact that there is no dialogue makes it so strong. Even. Yeah. Well, with Naruto, when you think of the most badass Naruto moments, it's always power. Is there any that's based on dialogue at all? That's like classic Naruto moments?
There are symbols. Like the one that always comes to my mind is, Itachi.
And the fist bump. Yes.
The fist bump, yes.
Yeah. So a lot of physical expression, but I feel like the dialogue itself is fairly... It's not bad, but it's not a strength, I'd say, of Naruto.
Maybe. I think we are a bit biased. I was about to say I can't remember any specific dialogue from Naruto, but I've not like ingested it in the depth that I have One Piece, where it's burned into my brain. So I'm not sure if I can speak to that too much.
Yeah, I mean, this is very, this is terrible example because I don't actually remember what the quote was, but I'm pretty sure there was a dialogue that Naruto's mom said.
That was very memorable.
That was pretty good. I suppose we'll never know.
Do you guys remember when Naruto was about ninjas? And then do you remember at which point it stopped being about ninjas and started to be about who could summon the biggest thing?
It's true, though.
But I'm not going to complain because I think Naruto's coolest form was when he learned his sage path and when he came to attack Pain, or when he came to rescue them from Pain. I think that is probably, that might be my favorite Naruto moment, actually.
I like that he arrived with the toads. Love the toads.
That was pretty cool.
So cool.
Actually, I think like in the early parts of Shippuden, I also really liked that he like learned to upgrade his Rasengan, because even though that's kind of his only move for a long time that he does.
Hey, he has sexy no jutsu.
Yeah, but I did like the idea that he kind of went a little bit in the more serious, refined direction and actually mastered something, in like that his dad even couldn't, properly master, and so on and so forth. It's kind of funny how at the end, kind of everyone is just throwing around these like
planets.
Beast bomb. It's literally
practically planets. Everyone is summoning like these mythical deity creatures, and it's all like explosions, bam, 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 destruction. Whereas the beginning of Naruto was like, all right, I'm gonna sneak up on this guy. I'm gonna take my knife out. I'm gonna just ninja. Like, it was more about who had the best strategy would win.
Yes.
Whereas I feel like Naruto evolved into whoever had the more power win. My creature punch harder than your creature.
And I think that's kind of what was really interesting that's the original charm of Naruto, where it's like, oh, there's all these different types of jutsus, and depending which one you can master, like it gives you like the sandbox effect of, oh, you can, if you master this, you can fight this guy, and then Kakashi's awesome because he can just copy whatever you can do. But yeah, you're right, at some point it just, the power scaling kind of went out of hand a little bit.
How did the copying work out for him when people started whipping that shit out? Copy that, Kakashi.
Good luck copying that, motherfucker. Yeah.
Because when the series starts out, Kakashi is like the strongest ninja guy, like one of. He is elite tier. And by the time it ends, he's just there. He is also there. Whilst all of these teenagers are summoning gods to destroy the earth.
But because he's hot, and because we've established that that's the criteria that matters, he will always be the coolest character and
Fair
remain
enough.
a fan favorite. Okay, well then I think I want to say thank you to Smokey Hayes for this episode.
Good name.
Thank you.
All right, I'm pretty sure we might have actually shouted Smokey Hayes before, but with a name like that, it's hard not to catch my attention.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
And
Okay,
if we
alright
did,
then, there we
you
go.
deserve it.
I'd remember.
All right, so what are we doing? What are we discussing next week?
Killing dogs, and why not to do it.
Killing dog singular.
Killing dog
We
and the
won't be going
consequences.
beyond that. And the that will be our talk next week.
And the very reasonable consequences to expect from it. I want to say, as a little prelude to next week's episode, I love how they had one really well-written emotional scene in the first 5 minutes of the first movie, and it just
And it
works to
sustains
justify
4 films.
four. And I'm still like 4 movies in, I'm still like, yep, but
Because
they killed the fucking
killing
dog.
that dog is a line you cannot cross. Like, if it was just John Wick's wife, whatever, get over it. But because it's the dog, you're like, I am invested, and I am going to watch him slaughter as many people as he wants.
Yes, literally. Such a genius move. So yeah, that will be our discussion for next week. So if you
John
want to be
Wick.
up to date, make sure to watch all 4 John Wicks.
They're so good.
They actually are, so. All right, we shall see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to go watch John Wick fuck up some bad boys.
Oh, yes.
That up does a lot of heavy lifting.